morning. My name is Jirra, and of course I want to start by paying my respects. I'm so glad and grateful to have a welcome just before I get up on this stage. I want to pay my respects to the traditional custodians of the land that we stand on, my respects to all the custodians of the Pilbara region, and I also want to pay respects to my own ancestors who for generations fought so hard for me to live this kind of life, travelling and doing what I love, and I know that they're smiling down on seeing me up here today. So I run a communications business called Kalinya. Kalinya in Yorta Yorta, it means good and beautiful and honest, and they're my guiding business principles. And it is my job to tell our stories. I am also working and learning with Aboriginal small business owners, driven by cultural values. So we believe that our products and services have a unique place on Australian and global markets, but more importantly, we believe that through small business, we can create the lives that we want, lives of creativity, and that we can give back to our communities. We engage in a trade system like our people have forever, and we're working together to figure out how to juggle the needs of capitalism and cash flow with protocol and culture and happiness. I was invited here to talk about the brand of the Pilbara, and I was born and raised on Kulin country in Victoria. This is my first time on this beautiful red soil, and so of course I can't tell you how to tell your own stories. No one wants to hear stories of the Pilbara filtered through a Melbourne voice. But I can say that we want to hear stories from the Pilbara. I've been here for a couple of days now thinking about a brand strategy that could amplify these voices. And what I'm doing here today is it's a bit experimental. I'm feeling a bit vulnerable up here because normally a brand strategy or a communication strategy is developed behind closed doors, and we come out and we present it when it's shiny and ready to inspire you, and that's not what I'm doing today. Because I came here to think about what is a strategy that could amplify the voices of the Pilbara, and then to work with you to create a draft to hand back to communities, because at the end of the day it's your brand and it belongs to you. Oh, here's my little thingy. So in the short time that I have been here, I've come across two quite different stories. One is a brand or a story of the Pilbara that is available to outsiders, and another far more interesting story that is being told by people here on the ground. So for the next 20 minutes, I'm going to explore both, and I'm going to end with some very quick marketing tips, but I'll be in a factory session after lunch, and I'm also going to be here until Sunday, and I would love to hear where I've gone wrong, where I've gone right, because that's how we learn and that's how we create authentic strategies. And if you're an Aboriginal small business owner, I would love to connect with you. So what is a brand? It's your story. It's not a logo, although that's part of it. It's something much, much broader. It's the story that you tell about your business, about your region. It's the story that others tell about you. In marketing, we say that a brand is what people say about you when you leave the room. For me, a brand is how your story makes people feel and the experiences that you create for them. So the brand of the Pilbara, it was the images that were in my mind when I was first invited to come here. It's the questions that people asked me along my trip, from the taxis to the plane rides. People said, "Oh, you're going to Sydney for work?" I said, "No, I'm going to Newman." They're like, "What? Where's Newman? What are you doing there?" It is the pictures that I and you are currently sharing on social media. It is the signage at the airport. It's the way the guy greeted me at the chicken shop. It's the feeling that I have about the Pilbara before I come, while I'm here, and it's the stories that I'll share when I go home. A brand essentially is a public identity. So what is the story that's being told about the Pilbara? And I'm hearing and I'm feeling two different stories. And my question today, particularly for people from this region, is can they be combined? Can there be one story to share? Because brand consistency, or that one story, it connects people and it stays in their mind. So I'm going to start with the outside story, a story told to outsiders, people even more outside than me, because I know some people from this region and I've been invited to this incredibly cool event. But I'm going to start with a story people are being told when they have absolutely no connection to the Pilbara. Now, I travel a lot and I often go to places that I have no connection with. And when I'm embarking on these trips, I go to 3 places to find information: Google, TripAdvisor, and Lonely Planet. So let's imagine you're a visitor. You're coming to the Pilbara for the very first time. You don't know anything about it. You don't even know how to find it on a map. And so you type Pilbara into Google, and the first thing that comes up is Wikipedia. Now, I know that Wikipedia is not a reliable source of information. Anyone can log into Wikipedia and write whatever they want, but for some reason I still click on it first, and that's my first impression. And so what does Wikipedia say about the Pilbara? It says the Pilbara is a large, dry, thinly populated region in northern Western Australia. It's known for its Aboriginal people, its ancient landscapes, the red earth, its vast mineral deposits, in particular iron ore, and as a global biodiversity hotspot for subterranean fauna. This isn't telling me much, so I dig a little bit deeper. It says the region is known for Aboriginal people, so I read on and it's all quite academic, but then I get to the part that hits on my emotions, and it says that around the turn of the century, work was described as slavery, with kidnapping and severe punishments, that there's poor infrastructure, that relationships between police and Aboriginal people are often tense. The next thing I do when I'm learning about a new place is I click on Google Images, and this is what comes up. Beautiful country, but no people. I'm not sure who lives here. I have no reference for how my experience will be when I arrive. So I spent a bit of time scrolling through these images, and with the absence of people, my mind is drawn to the animals in the pictures. I see wild dingoes. I'm from the city. They look a bit scary. I learn about this terrifying creature called a death adder. A death adder. So I go to TripAdvisor, and there are some really great reviews of the national park and the gorge, and I'm being told this is beautiful country, but I'm still trying to figure out who are the people and what's my experience going to be like. And then I notice number 3, ghost towns. By definition, no people. So lastly, I head to Lonely Planet, and I read that the land shudders with ancient memories and has several rough and ready mining towns. So through my usual search that I do before going to any new place, I'm being told that the Pilbara is dry, thinly populated region. Relationships are tense. There's a history of slavery and kidnapping. Images, there's lots of land, but there's no people. There's wild dogs. There's snakes called death adders. There's ghost towns, that the land shudders with ancient memories, and there's rough and ready towns. I'm a bit scared. The story that's being told about your region makes someone like me from the city a bit scared. But luckily I didn't do any of this research before I came here, because I didn't want it to taint my experience of arriving in the Pilbara for the very first time. Instead, I spoke with Molly and Tamina from Form, who have curated my experience for me. Amy from this beautiful art centre said, hang around and make yourself at home, which I did. I have my friends Mia and Curtis and baby Jedi here, and I've had the pleasure of hanging out with Curtis's family, and I thank you, Auntie and Uncles, for making me feel so welcome here. And it is through this experience and of reading the materials being produced by people in the Pilbara that a different story has emerged for me. And these are the kinds of images that have been shown, and I apologise that I have not named or given proper respect to country and to artists in the images that I'm about to show, because like I said, this is an experimental draft, and a real comm strategy would always work with people to name place, country and art, but these are the images that I have been seeing. Yes, it is a work of art from the minute you fly over the region. This story is beautiful. And these are the words that I've been hearing that people have told me. Desert, magic, culture, stars, surprise, gorges, paintings, waterfalls, art, wildflowers, nighttime breezes, song lines, colour, weaving, and hidden secrets. This story is beautiful. This is a story that I want to hear as a city person considering travelling to the Pilbara or buying art from the Pilbara, because it might be romantic of me, but I want the work on my walls to inspire thoughts of desert magic and starry nights and wildflowers and song lines. So, can you take the first story and rewrite it with the second? I don't think you can, but I also don't think that you need to, because there is real appeal in the first story. You know, when people said to me, "Why are you going to Newman?" The adventure in me, I was proud. I thought, I'm going somewhere you're a bit scared of, and I'm going somewhere you don't know about. When I saw this accommodation for the first time, I was absolutely thrilled. Everybody in Melbourne goes to Bali. Everybody's seen photos of the sunset at Potato Head. No one has seen pictures of a Melbourne girl standing in front of this giant truck in these incredible accommodations. Your distinctiveness is your toughness. So back to Lonely Planet, I digged a little bit deeper and I read this. Inland, miners swarm like ants over the high, eroded ranges of the Pilbara, but hidden away are ancient rock art sites and beautiful gems, home to spectacular gorges, remote peaks, deep, tranquil pools, and abundant wildlife. The distinctiveness is that both stories are true, that your toughness and your beauty, they coexist together. But at the moment, one story is louder than the other, and it can scare people away. The brand of the Pilbara, it should never hide its toughness. In this globalised world where everything is starting to look the same, you have something that is so unique. In a time when we are thinking more and more about our national identity, you have stories that are truly owned and unique to this country, to this land. So over the last couple of years, and again, experimental draft, come to the factory session, rewrite this with me. But this is the brand that has been coming to me and that I connect with. Western Australia is a work of art. When you fly over this country to when you step in this red dirt, Western Australia is a work of art. Ignatius, who works here at the Art Centre, when I asked him, how would you describe the Pilbara to somebody from overseas who's never seen this country? He said, it's hard country, and it is. You know, and then we should never shy away from that. But you already have all these outsiders talking about the beautiful gems within this hard country. So marketing, it's driven by emotion, and for you to tell your story, whether it be a collective story of the Pilbara or a story of your small business, you have to understand people's fears. We have this little trick in marketing, and we call it the why laddering. You ask someone a question and then you ask them why 5 times. And the idea is that we all kind of have these walls up, or these stories that we tell each other. We're like onions, and you have to peel away to get to the core, or what we call the emotional driver. So on my flight from Melbourne to Perth, I was sitting next to this nice guy called Bob, and he was really interested in this forum. Everyone I've spoken to has been so interested in this forum. People are eager for stories of the Pilbara. He'd never come to the Pilbara, even though he was so interested. And so I had a chat to him about why. And Bob is a non-Indigenous man from a different generation and a different industry to me, but we had similar fears. And that suggests to me that many people, particularly from cities, have similar fears about visiting the Pilbara. And together we went through our 5 whys. Why would we be worried about coming to the Pilbara? Number 1, would my comforts be met? We're from Melbourne. Comforts just really means coffee and wine. And yes, they are. Everything's available here in Newman. And do I actually care about that? I've travelled to some places where neither of those things are available. Distance. Yeah, it's kind of far, but it's actually less than 2-hour flight from Perth. I've also travelled far, far further. How will I get around? Will there be taxis, hire cars? Yeah, there's both, and we could find that easily online. Then we get to 4, so we keep asking, why? Why are we worried about going to the Pilbara? Oh, what's there going to be to do? Well, there's this incredible art centre that I already follow on Instagram. There is incredible artwork that I've been eyeing off in the National Gallery and major collections all over the country. And they're those incredible gorges that TripAdvisor rates so very highly. And then we get to number 5, the emotional driver. Will I feel unwelcome? Will I be in a place far away with people who intimidate me? For Bob, he doesn't have relationships with Aboriginal people and he's not sure if he's going to be welcome on country. For me, as a woman, I'm nervous about rough and ready mining towns. I've never been to one and I imagine them to be male spaces. Now I'm wondering, is my accommodation isolated? Can I walk after dark from the art centre to the accommodation? Can I go for a beer after work? Because you know what? Every part of me wants to hang out in this pub. This is the coolest looking pub I've ever seen and I am desperate to get a photo on that balcony. But I'm not sure, as a woman who's never been to a mining town, if that's going to be a male space and if I'm going to be welcome. So if Bob doesn't know any Aboriginal people and I don't know any miners, all we have to go by is the stories being told to us by the media and by the information that's online. And in just about all of the images that come up immediately, not the images being pushed out by fantastic places like this, but the images that come up immediately and quickly, there's no people in them. So in the stories that you're telling about your region, about your art centres and about your businesses, consider the role of human connection. Matamili does this incredibly well. Back to my mate Bob on the plane, who, by the way, handed over his details and said, I'm so interested and I want to help. People are eager for stories of the Pilbara. Bob loves Aboriginal art and he hasn't bought any yet. So again, I asked, why? And he's nervous, he's scared that he's going to contribute to the exploitation of artists, that he doesn't know the supply chain. If Bob was to come here and enter this space and meet with artists, his fears would immediately be addressed. So when you're marketing a place, an artwork or a tour, consider, can you create moments for people to connect? Can you share personal stories? Can you include images of the everyday? Your everyday seems normal to you, but from a girl from Melbourne, I don't know what the everyday looks like in the Pilbara. So quick tips. Marketing today, it's about experience. You know, long gone are the days when you need expensive television ads to push out messages and assume people will believe them. People want real experiences and they want to make human connections. Audiences believe people more than they believe businesses, organisations or government departments. A great way to share your story is through influencers. An influencer may be a journalist that you like. They might be a writer for Lonely Planet. They might be somebody that you follow on Instagram and you really connect with their story. I've only got a little following on Instagram, but there's heaps of Aboriginal people, Briggs, Miranda Tamsell, those kind of guys who have huge followings, and Aboriginal people want to connect with Aboriginal people all over the country. Influencers, they're just people waiting for cool things to do. Create positive experiences for them, because when you're a little bit scared of the Pilbara because of that first story that's being told, you're waiting for an invitation. When Molly contacted me, invited me, I said yes in 20 seconds. Connect with people and create photo opportunities for them. That's how you change the online story. You don't have to take all of the images yourself. Create moments for other people to take pictures and ask or give them permission to share them. Your country is beautiful, and we all know that. But we don't know who you are, because we don't yet know your stories. But I'm telling you that we want to. And that's why all week I have been looking forward to the talks that are about to happen. Thank you so much for your time today.